Good morning and welcome back once again to another Jack's Tech Corner and another episode of Photography Weekly. This is episode number 50. 2 more will be a year. Imagine that. Wow, a whole year with me? Come on. Anyway, coming up in today's show, we're going to be talking about layers, and yes, more layers. I'm going to show you a lot of ways we can work with layers, how to keep those layers in order, because layers is the mainstay of Photoshop and Photoshop elements. You have to understand layers to get anywhere else. Next, we're going to talk about lens hoods. Lens hoods. Yes? Maybe? No? What's your take on it? That's why Skype's going to be important, because, maybe you can call in to tell me what your views are on lens hoods. I'm going to show you some pictures and why maybe you should think a little bit differently. Also, we're going to have an open discussion. Ron, from our chat room there you see, started a really great topic on our Facebook group, and I'm going to go ahead and extend it here with everyone online today. And we're talking about stamping or signing your pictures. Either you're for it or you're against it, and we have a lot of interesting views in there. So I hope you're not too shy. I hope you call in today and give me your views on that. So it's going to be a Skype, and a Skype morning. I want you to Skype in here on this show and give me your views, and I'd really like to hear what you're thinking there and some of your background, your knowledge on some of these topics. Also, we're going to do a tribute to last week's assignment, which was landscapes. So let's go ahead and get started this week with episode number 50. And that's right, let's start learning. That's what Sunday mornings are for here with Jack's Tech Corner. It is to learn. So we have to talk a little bit about, or give our shout outs this morning, the official shout outs here in the chat room. Chat room's already going crazy, and that's great. This show is based, all these online shows are based around a chat room, seeing what you guys are thinking at any given moment, and as well as Skyping in, because the two-way street makes it a lot better. So good morning to Kevin, Cheryl, Dina, Fabian, Jeff, Hugh, Mike JP, Paige, Keith, who's going by Photo Lights, Renee, Ron, Unidentified 46306, Unidentified 992, and user underscore 9157, and Vicky. So, and I always get that every week with Kevin. Everybody always says that picture of the Canon. Why is it a point and shoot? That's just showing the versatility of the show, guys, and you know that. But I'll work next week at getting the Canon up there. Maybe we'll get a picture of the Canon 7D. I'll go in and redo the opening video. Fabian dropped out there. Hopefully we didn't upset him or anything. Hopefully he comes back in. It could be just oh, there he is. Could be just a quirk in the system. That happens every now and then. The unidentified users, if you click on the menu button, you can actually change your nick and throw your name in there so we know who's watching the show. Okay, with that said, the first thing we're going to talk about here, and I see a couple of you already talked about layers. We've talked about layers in the past, but these shows are for the beginners, for the experts, and I know a lot of you guys are way up here in the scale. But we have a lot of people viewing this show that are just starting out, and they don't understand everything there is to understand about Photoshop. So I have a picture from yesterday that I'm going to take you through, and we're going to do a natural workflow on this picture using layers and how I use layers. And I'm going to talk you through each step, and we're going to see how that works out. So pay close attention to this, because there's may be a assignment coming out of it. So pay close attention to it. And like I said earlier, if you didn't catch it, if you click on the Justin TV viewer, you can actually blow the viewer up full screen, and that may help you see some details in the actual show itself. You can see more details. And I'm sorry about that. Photo Lights is not Keith. Keith used Photo Lights or Photo something before. He has changed his name now to Peter. And also, Jake the Snake is in there. So good morning, Jake. And I'm sure you'll come back in there. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to the other camera here. And we're going to switch to the other monitor. and go this way. Get off this computer here. And you're going to hold your chat questions, hopefully. Since I adjust this camera here. I was using a different camera the other day for something. And there we go. Okay. So we're going to talk about first about how to edit a picture and show you some workflow that I do. And this again is a lesson, so everybody's going to have a certain way of doing things, but this is how I like to progress through this lesson. Like I said, pay close attention to this because there's going to be an assignment coming out of this. So that's just a heads up, just so you know it's coming. Okay. Get some elbow room here on this desk from this other computer. And we should, if I get everything set up right, we should go right into our elements. And perfect. It looks like we switched right over. Now, I'm not going to bore you today with my my mug on here, doing a picture-in-picture. We're going to let you just follow along right in the editor, so that way we don't make any mistakes. I got tons of notes here. I've been through this tutorial a couple times already this morning, because it's very critical to learn layers and understand it. I didn't want to actually lose any of my steps. So, what? Jack wrote show notes before the show? Get out of here. Well, I did. So, there you have it. Okay, folks, so let's go ahead and start looking at this picture I shot yesterday. You can obviously, how much expertise I have in this chat room right now, and viewing the show, you can already start picking out things that you're like, holy cow, Jack, you shot this picture and you're showing it to us. You know, you have to see the bad pictures because there's no sense editing the good ones. Why would we edit a good picture? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start working on a bad picture, and we're going to edit this picture down. The first thing you do whenever you open up a picture in Elements or Photoshop, or there's even another program out there somebody was telling me about a week or so ago, something about Corel Paint or something. I understand it uses layers. Any program that has a layer control in it, you always duplicate the layer first, because then that saves and that does not destroy your original background layer. So to do that in here, we are going to use Command J or Control J if you're on a PC, and you're just going to duplicate this background layer over here on the right side under layers. Now we can go ahead and we can start working on this actual picture itself. My first step is, being that the whole picture is kind of a lot of the background there you can see is blown out. This girl I do not know. I just kind of turned the camera. She was leaning over that rail and I just grabbed a picture. So she was there. She's just a young kid that happened to be there. So I figured we'd go ahead and use her for this demonstration, because it sets it up so nice with showing her in the foreground and really showing a far distance background. Okay, so that's the story behind the shot. The first thing I want to do here is I want to adjust some levels in this background layer, or this layer 1. I'm going to shut the original one off because as I'm adding layers, I don't want to have that background layer showing through, is what I'm trying to say here. So now when I do this, I'm going to take this original layer here with this layer 1. I'm going to take my levels, and we're going to adjust the overall levels of the picture itself. So we're just going to go down here. We can just pull this white slider back. We're just going to lower the light just a little bit. And this one to the left right here is your shadows. You can darken your shadows just a little bit. I don't want to go too far. I don't want to overdo it because I'm doing a lot of other stuff with this picture this morning. All right, so we have that done. Now what we want to do is, and that's a new step I actually added right there. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to take these two, and we're just going to flatten this on top of this so it makes it easier workflow. So if I hold my control key down or my command key and click on that layer 1 with levels 1, you're going to see that it's actually going to flatten these down. So let's go up to layer, and we can merge our layers or flatten the image. We're just going to merge the two layers down. That way that levels stays in there. We're not going to be adjusting it anymore, and it stays in there, but now we're just working with one layer. So I have my base picture laid out. I have my basic lighting done the way I wanted it. Now what I want to do is see that sky back here is how it's all blown out. It's very much overexposed, and that's just because when I started shooting for the morning, this was really early, the sun's back here, and we're going to address that in a few minutes and talk to you about that. But I had my my shutter speed was set probably too slow. The f-stop, the aperture setting was f4. So what happened was it just left too much light in the camera. So even getting her, but what happened was it didn't silhouette her. So it worked out kind of well for me, because I could have actually exposed for back here and silhouetted her that close, which I didn't want to do that. So what we're going to do now is we are going to make a selection back here, because I want to get rid of this in the background. So let's go ahead and make a selection. Make sure I'm on plus here, because I've done this a lesson a couple different times this morning. Once you have that selected, just hit delete. And what you're doing there is we just deleted and we made that into a see-through or transparent part of the picture right there. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to bring in a new sky, and you've seen me do this in other videos, but I want to make that sky not blown out. I want to make it nicer, so this is going to be a different layer. So as you see, my first layer is called background, which we turned off. The visibility, we turned that off, because if you leave it on, you can see it leaves that sky in there. So turn that off so you're not ruining your editing. It's a lot easier to edit. The first layer is called levels, because we adjust our overall levels, so that's fine. Now let me go ahead and bring in a new sky. And you've seen me do this before. We just simply downloaded these from the internet. And we're going to look here. See which one I wanted. I believe it was this one I was working with. Click open. Okay, so here's our new sky we're going to use. All right. This gives it a nicer look. And you might say, you know, you might look at this. A lot of you, like I said, are very good editors out there. You might say, Jack, it looks phony. But then again, this is a lesson in layers. It's not a lesson in realistic photography. So select all, copy this out, and now what we're going to do is go back to our first picture here, edit, and we're going to paste. Now, a lot of people have issues with bringing pictures into other pictures. It's just that simple. We select it all, we copy it, we open up the image where we want to go, and we paste it. And what happened was, if you look over here on the right, it created a new layer. Now if I click on this, I can right click on it and I can click on rename layer, and I'm going to type in here sky. This is one of those critical things I told you about. As you're working with more and more layers, you tend to start to get lost. You don't know what's on what layer, you don't know what you were doing with that layer. So a lot of times it's good to, well, not a lot of times, it's always good to rename your layer, and it's always good to, if you do any editing, any highlights or brightness controls, add that to the name. It doesn't hurt. Because wonder if you leave this 3 months and you come back and you want to re-edit something, you say, what was I doing there? That will give you a little bit of the history of what's going on. Click on this. We're just going to resize this sky. Let's resize this. Okay. And there you go. Now we have a new sky. Now it looks really, really good. Because now, oh wait. No, Jack, it doesn't look right. Because what happened? You just cut her face off. That doesn't make any sense. You put that in, cut the buildings out and all that people. What are you thinking? Now here's what we got to do. Let's grab the levels. And layers works, and I always teach layers. Let me try to bring this up. Bring a camera up here. I always teach layers like this. Layers is basically paper. If you remember when you were younger, when we were kids, or if you're a kid in here, you remember yesterday, we have a comic strip here, and we would lay a piece of paper on it so we can trace, right? We would lay tracing paper on it. That's all layers is. Anything that's on this top layer, and if the top layer is set to transparent, it's going to see anything that's on the bottom layer. So that's how it works. You see through it. That's exactly how a mask would work. If you'd put a mask on there and start painting, you would see or reveal what's underneath. That's how a mask would work, basically. All right. So now we'll just change these layers out. Take this back off here. We're going to change these layers. Pull this layer up on top of that layer. All right. So now what happens is, now you have the sky placed where you want it to be placed. It's right here. Now you can't drop the opacity, because look what happens when you drop the opacity. Right? You can see the transparency behind it. But what you can do with this is you can actually take that. You could do another levels or brightness and contrast. And then we can link these two together. By linking them, what we're doing is we're saying that we want this brightness control to only work with the sky. So it's Command or Control G. Now we can turn the brightness of the sky down without affecting the rest of the picture. Or you could even bring it up a little bit. Maybe it should be brought up a little bit. And you can drop and play with the contrast. Again, we're just working with the sky and nothing else. All right. The next thing we're going to work on is, I was looking at this picture and I thought the next thing I need to work on is this girl right here. Because she's kind of, the top of her hat and stuff is kind of blown out. So I thought we're going to go ahead and work on that next. Now, the way we do that, the way I like to do it, is I got levels here, right? So I don't want to mess with that one. What I can do is select this one, this levels 1, and we're going to select her. And so we'll grab our selection tool. Let's just select her. Right? Because she's the part of the picture, and you know you guys do a lot of photography work. She is the part of the picture that the eyes are going to be drawn to, because she's the foremost part of this picture. All right. And I try to get this selection the best I can. I was trying to get inside of her hair right here, like that. Again, when you do these edits, take your time. You don't have to rush on these edits. All right. So that looks pretty good. Now, here's what I like to do next. I have that, and you can surely work on that. But it's better to have every part of your picture on a separate layer. So let's take that, and let's go to Layer, New Layer via Copy. Now, what happens there is we now have this girl right here on a layer by herself. I'm going to shut the visibility off, and you're going to see that happening. There she is. Now we can work on her without affecting the rest of the picture again. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to rename this one, and we'll name this one Girl. Yep. So we rename her Girl. Now what we're going to do here is we are going to go down, and what seemed to work for me earlier was we're going to do brightness and contrast once again. And we're going to link that just to her by doing a Command or Control G. Now we can adjust the brightness, and you're just affecting her. You see that? Look how dark I can make her right there. So you're seeing how this is affecting just her. Because we don't want her too blown out. I don't want her too contrasty. Because she is the main element of this picture. And there you go. The next thing I did when I looked at this, I thought, well, what's the next thing I could do to this picture? The next thing I wanted to do was, I clicked on her again. I went down here, and I added hue and saturation. You can see when I do that, it's already linked just to her. And then we are going to desaturate just a little bit. maybe resaturate. You can see we can bring it up. We can desaturate right about there. You can play with the lightness here also. Bring it up right about there. And you can play with the hue. And again, a lot of people email me and say, Jack, how much saturation do I give? How much lightness do I give? How much hue should I be using? And honestly, it's very much to taste. You know, you got to decide what you really want to do with it and what you want to use on it. So there's those layers. Now we can do here to keep things from getting too complicated. You can go here and we can click all three of those. And you could either right click on it, you can merge them down, or you can go back into your layer palette up here, the layers on top, and you can merge layers. And again, all the edits stayed with her, but you see here, we named the layer brightness and contrast because that's what's in there. So there you have it. The next thing I did, I clicked back on the main one here. And I'm going to show you a little trick here. When you click on here, if there's only transparency on here, and next thing we're going to do with this picture is we're going to go to wrong one, the burn tool. If I start doing something, nothing's going to happen. Or sometimes what happens is it'll come up, it'll say no pixels selected. And people, I get more emails from everybody than anything else with that question. Why does it keep telling me no pixels are selected? Well, the reason is because there's nothing in there to select. So click on levels where the buildings and stuff is, and you can actually go here and make these adjustments. Or you can go ahead and duplicate that layer also if you feel you want to. Turn the brush size down a little bit, and we're just going to do a little bit of burning here. And all I'm doing is just bring a little bit of detail back into these buildings back here. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. I got the exposure up here set to 25. And I just said, I just want to burn this in just a little bit. And we'll make this a little higher here. Just to bring that up just a little bit, just to see it, a little bit of detail. And when you're burning, you got to watch because you know burning is just like a fire burning to me, because if you do too much, you can almost make it blacken. So you just kind of want to burn it in just a little bit, and that's what the burn tool is used for. So there you have it right there. So that was just some little bit quick and dirty editing, showing you how to do some layers. Let me show you again what the original looked like. I think we can just turn this on and we'll shut these off. That's the original picture right there. That's what it looked like. We're going to turn these back on and we'll turn this back off. And that is now what we edited the picture down to. One last thing about layers I have to put out there. It is in my notes. And I think Fabian, if you watched last week's show, he brought this up. Down here is your document size. So how big that picture is. So if you go with 46 megabytes, and as we add layers, every time you add layers, you're going to add size or bulk to that picture. So what happens is it now is at 13.3 it's at 113.2 megabytes. So it's a lot bigger file. So when you're done, what you want to do is you take all these layers, highlight them all, right click, and just flatten your image. Because it's going to flatten it all down, and it's going to actually make it a smaller file size once again. Before you upload it or send it to a printer, and you'll be good to go. So there you have it. So with that said, I'm going to go back, and I am going to start looking at the chat room here and see what's going on with you guys. And what's coming on there. And see if you have any questions. I am going to open up Skype right now to see if anybody would like to call in with any questions about layers. And with as many emails I get about layers and how people don't understand it, it's very, very simplistic if Oh, there you are. Sorry. It's very, very simplistic if you just think of it, as I said, no more than paper. Don't think of it as computer images. Just think of it as paper on top of paper, and then more paper on top of more paper. That's a layer. Everything that's transparent on the top can be seen. You can see the bottom. If you add a mask, you can paint on the mask and you can reveal the bottom. So that's just an easy way to think about it. It's easier to me than thinking, oh my goodness, it's layers. Layers is so advanced with Photoshop. Photoshop layers. Okay, now let's take a little look back here and see what's going on. Thanks, Ron. Doing it live takes nerve. I do a lot of live tutorials, and things happen. I told Fabian, he did it last week, and the program crashed. That happens. So, you know, different things can happen. I do appreciate you giving me that little boost of power there. You're in the dark on Elements versus 2.0. And Jenny, I don't know 2.0 what you're using. Is it Photoshop 2.0? You might want to clarify that. And I heard an interesting discussion the other day, folks. And if I upset anybody on this show, I don't mean to. You know how I come off that way. But I heard that Photoshop, and we've had this discussion before, but I've heard recently that Photoshop was never meant to be used by the photographer. Now, be that what it might, be that how you think, because I listen, I was like, holy crap, I should tell those professional photographers that won't use elements that Photoshop is not for the photographer. Photoshop was originally designed for graphic artists to draw, to sketch. It's geared to them. Then over the years, it has been redesigned and set for the photographer to use. There's some tools there, but it was never designed for the photographer. Photoshop Elements from ground up was built for the photographer, for the person to take pictures and rapidly get some edits done. And you can do just about everything in Elements that you're going to do in Photoshop anyway, except spend $500 extra. So there's my little spiel on Photoshop. The new thing is Lightroom. I just heard that Lightroom is now gearing to be the leading editor for your photographs. So what Adobe's trying to do is Adobe's trying to grab the photographers and say, look, here's a product we have called Lightroom, and it's going to allow you to do basic lighting. Because what you do most times when you pull a picture in, you've seen today when I pulled a picture in, well, I changed the background, which you can't do in Lightroom. We did some burning, which you can't do in Lightroom. Or maybe you can, yeah, I guess you can. You can do some basic burning because there's a brush tool. But other than that, we did some relighting, and we did some crafty stuff here with saturation, which all of that is built into Lightroom. So, was I a big Lightroom before? Big fan? No, because I said Photoshop Elements you can do everything in. But now there's a new tool on the market. I'm just trying to get you to steer away. Don't think you have to spend $500 or $600 for Photoshop because you have a DSLR camera. You don't. Okay, and let's move on. Now, we're talking about lens hoods. I bought that new wide. You know, we got that wide angle lens now, and it takes really beautiful pictures, and I'm really impressed with it. It's so neat to get up so close to something and get that wide angle shot, and you don't have to run, 90 feet back to get a picture of something. You can be right on them and get a beautiful shot. I love it. Now, what I didn't like is, and I'm going to show you in a minute, well, you've seen what the picture we did some editing on. I'm sure you've seen the lens flare. The lens hood was back in the car in a parking garage when we was at that parade yesterday. So what happened was I had no lens hood. The best case scenario, the best thing I did was, what happened was I was putting my hand up over top of the lens just to shield the sunlight from coming, like you would in a car. And I was able to snap and get some of that out because I could see it through the viewfinder. I could see the lens flare coming through. It was like, oh man. So I'm going to show you, I have a lot of editing work to do, but I'm going to show you now what happens. Now, are you familiar with the lens hood? Maybe not. Maybe I better show you what I'm talking about. It's this thing. Most people carry them like this. Me, on the other hand, I thought it was smarter to leave it in the camera bag in the trunk of the car. Now, why? Could be because it weighs 40 pounds. No, it does not weigh 40 pounds. It weighs like an ounce. So why on earth did I not spin it on my lens when I was leaving the car? Why didn't I do that? I don't know. But here's what a lens hood does. You stick it on here. When you're taking your picture, it keeps the sunlight from coming in to hit the glass. And what it does, it keeps the lens flare down. Because when you have it out like this, as I'm going to show you in a minute with my pictures, the sunlight's coming across there and it's shooting right down across and you get lens flare. That's what this is. It's a hood, lens hood. You should have that for your lens. Do you need it all the time? No. Did I need it yesterday? Big time. Man, what a mess. I got a lot of beautiful shots, and I have a lot of work to do with removing the lens flare. So let's take a look at that real quick. I'm going to show you those pictures, and then we'll move on to our next discussion here. So you make the decision. Do you need a lens hood? Yes, no, maybe. I'm going to show you these pictures, and we're going to see what you think. All right, let's go back here. So this is the one we were just editing. Now here you go. Hopefully this is showing up okay on your screen. And you can see right here in the middle the actual lens flare. You can see the green dot and the little red dot here with the green dot in the middle. That is the sunlight coming through that actual picture. Bring this back up here. All right, let's look at another one. Right here. You can see it. Look where it landed. Right across the policeman's face. Can I fix it? I don't know. The editor only knows, because I really don't know if I can fix that or not. Sometimes lens flare, and about a week or so ago, we were going to do an assignment on lens flare. I was thinking about it. We still might do that. Lens flare can be very pleasing if you place the lens flare. So if you're taking a portrait outside and you place the lens flare a certain port on your subject, it's going to be very, very pleasing. But this is not pleasing. This is a mess. Here's another one. Look where the lens flare fell. Right across the officer's face and his arm. I don't know. I mean, can I clone stamp it? I don't know. Can we do the the old spot healing brush? Again, I don't know. I'm going to try. If anybody wants to edit any of these, let me know, because I'll email them to you. You can play with it too. Here's why I just wanted to show you this one, because look, a black truck. It's black. Look how that big yellow spot's on the door. Now this stuff here, you can probably, clone stamp that out pretty easily. But let's see if I got another one here. And that's the sky. This one here, I just wanted to, this is just for my personal bragging rights. This is what a wide angle lens will do. I was at the foot of this building and I just spun the camera up in the air and I said, holy cow, look at that. And that is in Pittsburgh, PA. It's called the PPG place. And what does PPG do? They're known for glass. So you can see they built a glass building. But it's not the building or the architectural marvel of the building. But look how wide that shot is. And this lens, if you looked at my unboxing video that I did, it's a 12 by 24. 12 by 24 millimeters. And that was set at 12 millimeters. And it's just amazing. Okay, the lens flare, yeah, I needed my my lens hood, but for this, spectacular. That's all I can say. Okay. Okay, so the next topic we're going to bring up here this morning, and Ron started this. Ron started this whole entire topic on our Facebook group, which that's fine. Ron, I think it's a great topic. And I do get your points, and I do get everybody else's points that put their points in there. And the truth is should you or should you not stamp or sign your pictures if your stamp does not lead you anywhere? So I see what Ron's saying. So if my stamp, like my stamp says Memories by Jack. If you do a Google search for Memories by Jack, you should find my 2 wedding sites. I have 2 different wedding sites. And I also started a Facebook page, so that may come up also. But what Ron is saying is, if you stamp it copyrighted by, whatever, copyrighted by J. Allen, J. Allen Lucy. And J. Allen Lucy, if you do a Google search and it doesn't go anywhere, he is stating that should you put your name on it at that point, and because you can't use that to reference anything else. Now, my personal feelings, I put on the Google page. Everybody probably read it, but I'm going to bring it up again, just so you get my views. And this is just my views, and all the views are good. My views is, when I play, let's say for our homework assignments, when I play this slideshow, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of people stamp those on there. What makes it nice, when I was downloading these this morning, I was thinking, it's kind of nice that they're stamped because you're going to see who did that work. And, in talking to my wife, people have signed their pictures, Ron, for decades. I was talking to my wife, and we were kicking this idea back and forth. How can I explain this? If you look at the great painters over the years, like Picasso, the great photographers over the years, stamping their name, on their pictures, that was well before the internet. They weren't really saying anything. They were just saying that I did this work. I created this picture, or this painting, is what they were saying. So, in the day of the age of the internet, and I see what you're saying, you're posting it on the internet, and you're thinking it should lead to more internet sites, maybe and maybe not. I say I like to do it because I want people to see that was done by Jack, by Memories by Jack, and I did that work. And I want you, I'm proud of my work, and I'm sure you are, Ron. You want to get your name on there, put your name on there and say, I did this. You know what I mean? And I'm proud I did it. So there you have it. Because on the web page, your name's on there, on the Facebook, but when I download it and put it on the show, it's not there. So put your name on there. So, and that's right, Renee. Ron had a very, very good point. So that's I just wanted to give you my feelings on it and how I look at it. Now, if you want to call into Skype and give me your feelings, that's fine. You can call in. We have plenty of time here to get some discussions on this. Let's put a number up on the screen. And you can just pick up your cell phone right now and give a quick call. I'd love to hear from you. And we can discuss this and see what you think and what the group thinks. By the way, this week, if anybody was watching, I think we hit 173 folks in the group. Congratulations to everybody out there, bringing your friends and everybody along. And it's very, very nice to have them in there. Today, I just looked here. Let's see if I can look again. Oh, that's actually something else I'm working on. Try and see if I can look again here. And let me see here. All right, stop that. At one point today, we were up to 27 live viewers. So that is nice how the live shows are coming along here. What is the actual Skype handle? My Skype handle here is Jack's Tech Corner, Ron. So if you want to call in with Skype, you can do that. And Flyer here, you have a very nice way to look at it also. Your name and your information is in your metadata, and I like that too. And I'm actually working on some videos about metadata and how that works and how to get metadata into the picture. We've had this discussion the other day, I think, myself and Kevin, on a Google Hangout. If you guys never did a Google Hangout, come join us. There's a lot of information we kick back and forth all the time. So it's really, really neat to get that extra information. And it's relaxed. It's not this way. It's not an official lesson or anything. Like Kevin was showing us his camera. He was showing us his flash triggers. We get to share, show, and tell. It's so much fun. So you guys need to come out there and visit us sometime on Google+. Mike's in there a lot. Dennis, Jake the Snake's in there a lot. So, and we're getting some new younger guys in there that aren't photographers, that are learning. They're trying to learn a little bit from everybody of how to do photography. So there you have it. Yeah, and Kevin said we do laugh a lot. My wife actually said we laugh too much. She told me that, I need to get out of there, so. Yeah, and Kevin said we do laugh a lot. My wife actually said we laugh too much. Hey, Ron, you might have to kick back the player. On the player, just hit mute on the player itself.
Yep.
How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good.
I can't see you there, but that might be...
No, you would have to see me just on the player itself, so...
Yeah, and that was feeding back. Well, let me mute it then.
Yeah, just mute the player, but allow it to play through, because what happens is, with Skype, my camera systems here, I can only use it for one program or the other. It's just kind of the way it works, so...
Yeah. Well, I think you pretty much summed it up, what I was trying to say. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty much, well, I guess one is I probably disagree with most folks nowadays on the whole photography thing. I'm kind of old school. Traditionally photography has not stamped landscape photos. Pretty much the stamping came in with wedding photography in the 50s and 60s because it becomes so easy for people to steal those wedding photography, right? You would buy the smallest set, and then you'd run to a store and then get you a bunch of copies made. So it was stealing from the wedding photographer, basically. Yeah. I understand that now stamping is quite popular, but my basic whole point was I was looking around the guys, I was trying to find their sites and bookmark them so that when I'm reminded that they're good photographers, I could go and look and see what they've done recently.
Yes.
And I've noticed that a lot of the guys simply they have their name there, but you can't find their work. And some of them that I just expected I would find their work. I expected they would be on the top of the Google search engine. So that was really my point is if you're going to stamp them and you're a professional photographer, you're doing yourself a disservice if people can't find you.
Okay. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if you stamp it, I guess, if you'd have enough room, maybe put your website address on there. Would that be too much?
Maybe too much.
Okay.
Might be too much.
Okay.
Might be ugly, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just, and I do a lot of, my expertise or my photography basically falls into weddings. I'm getting into some other fields now, but, and you're right, that's happened to me before with weddings. I just hand you over the pictures, and next thing you know, I never hear from them again because they go to Kinko's or, Walmart's very good with that. You walk in Walmart, their people are trained where if they look at that picture and it even looks remotely professional, they will hand it back to you.
Yeah, they should.
They should. You're right.
They should.
They do.
But generally, when we post something on Facebook, we're wanting people to share that, right? Professionally or personally, we generally, if we're doing it personally, we prefer that all of our friends see it and share it with their other friends. Generally speaking, there's exceptions.
Yeah, sure.
And if you're doing it professionally, you want your company logo in front of folks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, you bring up good points, and I liked it. That's why I brought it to the show because I liked how many comments you got from that post.
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to do. That's what the Facebook group is for. Get that feeling out there and let people know what you're thinking.
Yeah. And yours hits right off if you do a search on Memories by Jack,
yeah,
the first couple of links on Google are your sites.
I should be busier, right? There should be more people calling. I'm not getting no phone calls. So.
Yeah, well, live. You're going live. That's I mean, Leo Laporte, right?
Oh yeah. I watched his show for years.
He had, his real radio stuff has thousands of listeners, and he has a hard time with call-ins. I mean, it's doing stuff live that's a hard thing.
Oh yeah, and I liked your thing earlier, and I do appreciate that. Like, wow, Jack, you're showing this lesson live. I mean, but that's how a lot of times I learn from a lot of those guys. You know what I mean? So Leo is he helps with all this stuff. He helps teach you how to set a studio up. Basically, how to broadcast. I mean,
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. I love doing it, and I like the people coming in here. And just like you, I would have never met you any other way in life except through these shows. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah. That's a good thing about it.
Yeah. Okay, but I do appreciate you calling in, Ron, and getting your views. I really enjoyed that. So keep it up.
Yeah. Appreciate all your work.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, have a good day, Ron. Okay, that was the man and the legend I was telling you about was Ron. That's who started that whole topic. And if you didn't read that whole thread on Facebook, go out there and read it. I think it's really important. Go to our group, Jack's Tech Corner. If you're not in it and you're on Facebook, which if you have a computer today and you're not on Facebook, I don't know why you wouldn't be. But join our group, Jack's Tech Corner, and read that whole thread. I think you'll be really interested. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and I'm going to play the tribute this week to our landscapes. And man, you guys did a great job out there. I tell you what, it was so much fun to see this stuff coming in. The assignment was almost too easy. And I was going out to do mine the other day, and my wife said, she turned to me, and we're driving in the car, and she turns and says, Jack, and I said, what? She goes, why did you pick such a crappy time of the year to give your class folks an assignment of landscapes? And I said, because it's a crappy time of the year. If you can make a beautiful shot when everything's dead, imagine what you're going to do when it's all living. Hey, just a thought. All right, let's kick this off here and get our... All right, folks, well, that's it for this week. And your assignment for next week is what I want you to do is I want you to use multiple layers and edit a picture down. Now, so we can see this changes, I want you to have the original picture, and then I want you to go ahead and I want you to show us the edited picture also. So post both of those on our Facebook group. That is your assignment for this week. So with that said, I'd like to, we're going to wrap up this show for this week. And I'm glad everybody joined in here again this week. I see we made it up to it and held 27 viewers, so that's a pretty good week. And we are glad that everybody made it back this Sunday. Don't forget that assignment. Remember, the assignment is to edit your picture. We want multiple layers. I'm just trusting that you're going to do that. Learn how to use layers. And then show us your picture both. We want to see the unedited picture and then the edited picture. And they could be pretty much pictures of anything. You know, you could even use the landscape pictures we did last week, so you already have those. So, and Mike's right. It was very nice work. Everybody did a great job on those landscapes. So with that said, remember, lens hood or no lens hood. Put it on your lens and carry it like this, if nothing else, just so you have it with you, because I needed it and didn't have it. So there you go. All right. So until next week, remember, keep those cameras and those shutters clicking. Keep your editors editing, and we'll see you back here next week on Jack's Tech Corner for another Photography Weekly. So long, and have a great week. And the weather's getting nice. Get those cameras and get out there today. I'll see you back here. Thanks. And thanks, Ron, for the call. I do appreciate it. Take care, everybody. And we'll talk to you next Sunday for another show. Bye for now.